You ever see one of those trading strategies online? You know the ones, with a performance chart that just looks way too good to be true? Well, it probably is. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the whole world of algorithmic trading. I'm going to show you exactly how to tell a fragile, fake strategy from a truly robust one. It's time to separate the real proof from the empty promises.
So here's the core of the problem, right? If you test thousands, and I mean thousands, of random ideas on old market data, statistics basically guarantee that one of them is going to look like an absolute masterpiece, just by pure luck. This little quirk is probably the single biggest trap in trading, and honestly, it's how most of these fake strategies get made in the first place.
So that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? How do you separate a real, repeatable, professional strategy from one that just, got incredibly lucky on a spreadsheet? Well, that's the exact mystery we're going to solve right now.
Okay, it all starts with this really deceptive trap. I call it the perfect backtest lie. I'm sure you've seen it. It's that beautiful performance chart that just rockets straight up and to the right, promising these flawless, guaranteed profits. But here's the secret they don't want you to know. It's almost always a complete illusion. The fancy technical term for this illusion is backtest overfitting, and let me tell you, it is the #1 enemy of any real strategy. It's basically the art of designing a key that perfectly fits a lock from the past, only to find out it's totally useless for unlocking anything in the future.
Now, this whole illusion is built on 3 hidden traps, and once you learn to spot them, I promise you are going to see them everywhere. So let's expose them, one by one.
First up, we've got trap number 1, selection bias. Just imagine you test, say, 10,000 different strategies on some data. A couple of them are bound to look amazing just by sheer random luck. The trap is when somebody throws away the other 9,999 failures and presents that one lucky winner as if it's proof of their genius. They're only showing you the winning lottery ticket.
Second, there's over-optimization. This is where every single parameter, the entry signal, the stop loss, the profit target, you name it, is tweaked and polished and sanded down until it perfectly fits the historical data. And what this does is make the strategy incredibly fragile. It turns it into that key we talked about, one that can only open one specific lock from the past.
And the third, and maybe the most fundamental trap, is just using bad data. Simple as that. You just cannot build a solid system on a shaky foundation. If your historical data is corrupted with stuff like unadjusted stock splits, or it's missing chunks of time, where it ignores companies that went bankrupt, well then the entire backtest is completely worthless right from the start.
Okay, so we've exposed all the traps. Now let's flip this around. How do the pros build systems that are actually designed to work and designed to last?
It all starts with this one core principle. In the institutional world, this is basically an axiom. A simple, straightforward strategy that's built on flawless, high-quality data will always, and I mean always, outperform some brilliant, complex algorithm that was tested on junk data. The quality of your data is just everything. Now take a look at this number, 30%. That's how much profit you can potentially lose just by ignoring real-world trading costs. A lot of these perfect strategies you see conveniently forget to include these costs. And guess what? That's usually where the whole beautiful illusion just falls apart.
So where does that 30% come from? Well, it's kind of like death by 1,000 cuts. First, you've got commissions on every single trade. Then there's the bid-ask spread. That's the small price you pay just to get in and out of a position. And finally, there's slippage. That's the tiny difference between the price you thought you were getting and the price you actually got. Each one is a tiny little cut, but together they can cause a supposedly profitable strategy to just bleed out.
And this is exactly why the pros insist on one specific type of simulation. It has to be every tick based on real ticks. What that means is the backtest doesn't just look at the opening or closing price of a bar. No, it simulates every single price movement that happened in between. Anything less than that is basically ignoring what the market is really doing and just produces fantasy results. So, what is the gold standard for testing if a strategy is actually robust? Well, it's this really powerful method called walk-forward analysis. Here's how it works. You divide your historical data into segments. You find the best settings for your strategy on one segment, and then, here's the key part, you test it on the next segment of data that it's never seen before. Then you just repeat this process, sliding forward through time, to see if the strategy can consistently adapt. And here's what that looks like in practice. This is the reality check. On the left, you see the amazing performance during that optimization phase. It looks incredible. But on the right, you see how it actually performed on the new, unseen data.
And look, that performance drop? That's totally normal. It's gonna happen. A good strategy is one where the real-world test performance is at least 50% of the optimized one. That proves it has a real, genuine edge. All right, let's pull all of this together into a tool you can actually use. This is your ultimate truth checklist. I want you to think of this as your guide for auditing any trading strategy that comes your way, to see if it can really stand up to professional-grade scrutiny. First things first, you gotta audit the data. Is the source transparent? Have they gotten rid of survivorship bias? And that's a big one. It means the data has to include all the companies that failed or went bankrupt, not just the successful ones that survived. If they can't answer these basic questions, that is a huge red flag.
Next up, you audit the simulation itself. Did they use that every tick mode we just talked about? Are all the real-world costs, commission, spread, slippage, fully baked in? Because if not, the performance numbers you're looking at, they're not real. And finally, audit the results. You should demand to see a walk-forward analysis. And then check that the key metrics meet professional standards. You want a Sharpe ratio, which basically measures your return for the risk you're taking, of over 1.0, and a profit factor, which is your gross profits divided by your gross losses, of over 1.5. These are the kinds of benchmarks that separate the amateurs from the pros.
If you remember just one thing from all of this, let it be this. Real costs destroy dreams. The vast majority of these miracle algorithms you see out there, they just crumble the moment you apply the small, unavoidable frictions of the real market. That right there is the ultimate test.
So from now on, the next time you're shown a perfect-looking strategy, you have the tools to look deeper. You've got the checklist. You know the right questions to ask. Is what you're seeing built on solid, verifiable proof, or is it really just a beautifully packaged promise?